Embassy of the Dead, Chapter 18, The Bodelean School for Girls. It was dark. Jake had driven from Bad Pennies along the wind-swept seafront. Soon the dirty arcades and boarded-up shops faded into row upon row of terraced houses that in turn gave out to endless fields, stretching over the rolling hills. From there they'd driven along the coast road, passing miles and miles of nothing, until eventually, as the sun was setting, a large building appeared in the distance. As it grew closer, Stiffkey motioned for Jake to pull over outside a large pair of wrought-iron gates. Beyond the gates a gravel road wound through the grounds towards the grand house. Jake peered into the evening gloom and read the sign that stretched over the high iron gates. The Bodelean School for Girls. The difference between Jake's scruffy school with its concrete yard and dilapidated bike shed and this stately home surrounded by cultivated gardens was striking. A light flicked on, a single window among many, then flicked off again. It seemed that the school was asleep. "Let's park the van out of sight," said Stiffkey, indicating where he meant. A short distance along the road, on the opposite side to the school, a wooden gate opened onto a grassy field. Driving as slowly and quietly as he could, with the headlights off, Jake pulled into the field and brought the camper van to a halt, hidden behind the hedge. "I would have liked to send my boy Sidney to a fine school like that," said Stiffkey. "To a girls' school," said Jake with a smile. Stiffkey grunted, and Jake immediately regretted the joke. I didn't know you had a son," said Jake. "Aye," said Stiffkey. He changed the subject. "Somewhere in that school is a ghost who needs undoing, and you've got to find her, wherever she is." He lowered his voice to a nervous whisper. "Before Mawkins finds us." Jake nodded and shone his phone's torch at the file in his hand. Cora Sanderford, born 1977, died 1990. Type, low-level poltergeist. "Low-level doesn't sound too bad," said Jake. "Read the rest, boy. You can't judge the state of a corpse by the flowers on its grave." Jake grimaced and then started to read. Reports of a mysterious and sporadic knocking heard in the assembly hall of the Bodleian School for Girls have been verified. It is my judgment that this is most likely the formerly unregistered spirit of Cora Sanderford, aged 13. No visible presence, little physical form, no threat to the living, minor poltergeist, priority low. Then there was a scrawled signature. Ezekiel Frost, Ghost Auditor, the Embassy of the Dead. Jake raised his eyebrows. "Well, boy," said Stiffkey, "if she's so low on spectral energies as to have no visible form, and only enough physical form to muster a little knock now and again, she might have passed to the afterworld, but only one way to find out." He took off his hat and brushed some dirt from the rim. "But I hope I'm wrong, for both our sakes." Jake nodded, and they both got out of the van and trudged their way over to the school. It had started to rain, and the wrought-iron gates to the Bodleian School for Girls shone wet in the moonlight. Jake gave them a shove, but they were locked. He wedged his foot onto a lower bar of the gate and pulled himself up, ready to climb. "Well, I guess I'm going over and you're going through. See you on the other side," he said, looking down at Stiffkey, then realising his error. "The other side of the gate, I mean, not as in the afterworld, at least not yet." He gave a nervous smile. Stiffkey shook his head. "Dying is a serious business, boy, I should know." "Sorry," said Jake. He really did need to start watching what he said. Suddenly the road was illuminated by the headlights of an approaching car. Jake froze. As the car started to turn in towards the school, he leapt back off the gate and hid behind a bush. A long, dark car with blacked-out windows slowed to a stop at the foot of the drive. The front windows slid down, and a man's voice spoke quietly into the intercom. The gates opened, and the car drove on. As the gates began to swing closed, Jake slipped through. Jake crouched and looked towards the school. He heard a door slam. The car had parked and its lights were off. The driver must have gone inside. Jake stooped down and was about to run across the lawn towards the school when he noticed that Stiffkey wasn't following him. "Come on!" He beckoned him over. "I ain't going no further, Jake," replied the ghost from the other side of the gates. "I can't help you with an undoing. It's harder undoing a ghost when there's another one present, especially one like me. Bad Penny always preferred to undo alone." "But," started Jake, a million questions running through his head, "can you at least look after the box while I'm in there?" he pleaded, beginning to rummage in his rucksack. "I can't help with that either, boy," said Stiffkey, shaking his head sadly. "I wish I could, but those that break the rules must be the ones to fix them. It's the embassy way. It's up to you to keep the box safe until we can return it." Jake sighed and reluctantly zipped up his rucksack. "Fine, but how will I know when the ghost is undone?" Stiffkey started to fade. "You'll know," which wasn't the most helpful advice in Jake's opinion. But then Stiffkey reappeared. "Oh, and be careful, boy. Even the good ghosts can turn malevolent after being trapped on the earthly plane, and the ones that started bad, well, they don't get better with age." And with those words he disappeared. Once again, Jake was alone. What do you think? How's Jake feeling at this point?
I think Jake's going to be feeling, well, kind of like not the emotions on the happy and excited and looking forward to it side, but more of the emotions on the not looking forward.
So he's maybe feeling a bit nervous because he's going in the dark into a school he doesn't know to find a ghost.
It'll be for his own good.
Yeah, I know, but he's got to go find a ghost. He doesn't know where the ghost is. He's just got to find it. And he doesn't know if it's going to be friendly or not.
Yeah.
What do you think about that big black car that drove up?
They're finding Cora.
Who is?
Jake.
Jake is, yeah. What did you think about that big black car that drove up?
I don't know. Maybe it's, well, honestly, probably they wouldn't use a big, Morkins wouldn't use a big black car.
Well, it's not going to be Morkins, but remember that guy we met in the last chapter who was just going to kill Bad Penny, and then he saw the list on the table and he decided he was going to go off and look for Jake after all. I wonder whether it's him. So he's obviously quite wealthy if he's driving around, so he might be quite an influential person.
Yeah, but
he's driving
most
around in
adults...
a fancy black car.
Well, who said it was fancy?
Well, it's, what does it say? A long, dark car with blacked out windows. Well, it implies it's...
Yeah.
Long could be like a limousine. Anyway, we'll find out, won't we?
But I remember you made the connection to them also being the people who dug that hole.
Yeah.
I think it might be the people who dug up the... Remember at the very start, they could have dug up that man's dead body.
Yeah. So, you mean so it could be like an undertaker's car instead of a limousine?
Well, I'm talking about, like, they're physical people who are helping... What's her name?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Fenris.
Yeah, so they're helping Fenris and they took him out of the grave.
It might be. Yes, absolutely. But I'm just guessing that that's who it is, because otherwise why would you have a long, dark car and a man's voice speaking, driving into a girls' school late at night? It's all very mysterious.